Jessica Jones Season 3. This is going to be a spoiler review. I have a review up now on my blog, soundedbetterinmyhead.com. It should have almost no spoilers, a couple little odds and ends, but for the most part, it's got no spoilers. So if you want to check that out first, that's probably a good idea if you haven't watched the show yet this season. I went ahead and gave it a 3 out of 5. I could have went 2.5. You know, I decided to stick with 3 because I really like the character moments. I think the biggest weakness this season was the villain. We were supposed to get, as he's known in the comics, Fool Killer. The show, they're just going with Gregory Salinger. First off, we're introduced to the new character, Eric, and he just gives off the vibe like you can't trust him. And I thought for sure that he would end up being the villain. Just the way he got him, he knew exactly what to say to Jess. He was manipulative. He kind of put her in some. It seemed like he kind of got her in a situation where she got stabbed. Just a lot of things that he did sound like he would turn out to be the bad guy, and he wasn't. When we finally do meet Gregory, he's intimidating first. You know, intimidating. You see that he's got all these degrees and all kinds of stuff. He's got a physicality about him because he's got these sports trophies. The way he interacts with Jessica when she first meets him shows that, you know, he knows there's nothing they can prove against him, and he's got the upper hand. So it's great to see this villain that can outthink the hero, but then he really doesn't do much the rest of the time. He's just happy to not be getting busted, and really if Jessica didn't dig into investigating him a little bit more, he probably would have just ignored her and had nothing to do with her, and he wouldn't have really been a direct threat to her. I mean, obviously he stabbed her and she knew he was dirty, so she had to dig into him. And even then, it seems like half the time he gets out of things not because he's super smart, but because it's either just luck or he just, you know, basically uses the law for his benefit, which, yeah, that takes some brains, but it's just kind of half-assed the way he does it. The reason I did like this season so much, enough to at least give it a 3 instead of 2.5, was the characters. I mean, everybody that came back has got some strong moments, some better than others. As always, Krysten Ritter just kills it as Jessica. This season, she's trying to be as close to a flat-out superhero as she can get, and I think it works. You know, her trying to do, you know, better, trying to be a more positive influence on, you know, her city, but she's still sarcastic. Early on, she gets stabbed, so now she's got this vulnerability, which was an interesting twist, but she gets over that after a couple episodes, just goes back to being normal Jessica, which is a great character, so it works. She's got a couple great emotional moments. The big twist with Trish's mom being murdered, and, you know, Jessica never really liking her, but still kind of having feelings for her as like a mother-like figure. You know, she had a couple moments where she knocked out of the park. There's a moment where she's looking in the mirror right before the funeral and she almost loses it. And that was just a strong acting moment. Her character arc isn't anything too crazy. It's just her still gradually trying to become a hero. A couple times she takes a step back, like, I'm just not doing it right. And, you know, she really doesn't end that much farther along than she started, but I think it worked. The biggest story arc was probably Trish's. You know, she's got her superpowers now. She trains herself to be a hero. She gets a mediocre costume, even though we do get a cool little Easter egg where she briefly wears a pretty good facsimile of the Hellcat costume. But she's pretty interesting to see her trying to be a hero and showing, like, how hard it kind of really would be to be this, and, you know, why you would need a mask, especially when you're like a Trish Walker. And then she has basically a heel turn after her mother's killed, where she becomes almost a Punisher and starts killing, you know, bad guys. Not even on purpose, but she gets to the point she thinks she should just keep killing them. Again, all these shows struggle with the same thing about, it's this horrible thing to kill someone even though they're bad, and of course the Punisher does it like it's nothing, and he's fucked up in the head, but he's going to be like that regardless because of what happened to his family. So again, he goes back to that, he can't cross this line. And I guess with Trish, she's also kind of an addict, so it's like it's addictive to like wipe these guys off, so it's kind of making her kind of become a little more evil. I don't know if didn't realize she should have been truly evil enough that Eric's radar was going off so hard. I mean, the last time it was that bad, it was next to a serial killer that murdered people for him trying to make a point, and Trish is really actually trying to do what she thinks is good. It's just the wrong way to do it. So I don't know. Interesting story arc with her. She briefly becomes the villain. It's bad enough when she almost tries to kill Jess, and then she gets locked up. And then at least she realizes in the end, you know what, I became the bad guy, and I kind of deserve what I got. I like Malcolm's story initially. I like seeing this kind of ruthless version of him, like he's learned from Jerry, kind of how to be an asshole and how to kind of just do what it takes. Then he starts kind of faltering, and then he has this weird conflict where he seems like he's leaving Jerry, then he doesn't, then he seems like he's working against her, then he just kind of works with Jessica, and he goes back to Jerry, then breaks up with his girlfriend, and then he randomly gets a blowjob from a hooker, and then for some reason he's dating her at the end, and then he just has this weird, odd breakup a second time with his girlfriend. His whole storyline was kind of weird. Even when he's helping Jess, he just kind of seemed like a third wheel sometimes. I mean, he definitely helped, but he just didn't seem like he added all that much to it after that point. Weird character this season was Jerry. She came in this season, we knew she had the ALS, and you knew she's trying to take control of her life, and you kind of got this goodwill towards her because you want to see her kind of be a better person as she's entering her last few years. And then she goes on this pretty fucked up path where she decides she wants her ex-girlfriend back from 25 years ago, and basically sabotages her marriage and gets her husband almost locked up, but he kills himself first, and then her lady friend hates her, and it's this weird tangent that it's like they got to give something for Jerry to do, and it really has very little to do with the main plot half the time, but she's a main character, so they got to give her something to do. And it's just a strange storyline, and at the end it almost looks like it's going to pay off for her, that she's going to get the girl, which she doesn't deserve her, and then she doesn't, and it's this kind of weird thing, and then she's left alone. The best new character we get this time is Eric. Like I said, he's kind of a wild card. You think he might be evil at first, but basically he's just pretty flawed. He is, especially hanging out with Jessica, he really does try to do the right thing, which is weird because she's never considered herself a hero. And he slowly starts trying to decide to use his abilities for good. They got some weird plot holes with him, where early on he says he blackmails people that he knows they're evil, he doesn't know what they did, so he just asks for money. And then later on we see that he's got all these detailed files, so is he making files, or is he just randomly kicking people out? But overall he had a good arc, and at the end you see that he's looks to be a new superhero. And there's a few odds and ends just didn't kind of work this season. Like, I don't know why we needed Eric's sister. She was just this weird plot device that they could have just dropped after an episode. And instead, she ends up hanging out with Malcolm. She goes down on him for whatever reason, and it really doesn't lead to anything. And then she's gone for a while, which Eric also disappears for like a long time, which is a bigger impact. Anyways, they're gone for a while, and then she comes back out of the blue, and he gets his random relationship with Malcolm, and just the whole thing just seemed really strange and kind of pointless. Also, another weird thing is when Jessica gets stabbed and loses her spleen, they really say, look, you're going to have these problems with your immune system. You got to take these pills. You got to do this. You got to do that. And when she doesn't, she collapses. So it's like, it's pretty messed up that if you lose a spleen, it's no big deal. It is a big deal. You can't just walk away like it's nothing. But then after a few episodes of this, they never reference her spleen again. She's perfectly fine and just goes about her daily business like she always did, and the loss of the spleen was just nothing anymore. I don't think there's any other major story points to point out. I think I'll just go through my notes and see, episode by episode if anything looks like it's worth mentioning. Actually, kind of weird how quickly not only did they drop Jessica's relationship with Oscar from last season, where she kind of ended in a healthy place, but she still has a little bit of a relationship with his kid, and then pretty much he leaves her like a clay sculpture of her spleen, and we never see him, or I think even hear him of him again. So he both get completely dropped like it's nothing. That's the little, I guess you could call it mob family that Eric owed money to, were really corny, just a kind of over the top characters of some mobsters and this evil mom, and she's throwing him in the thing in the pool with the weights on, and the kid's throwing a little action figure in there, and it's the cutest thing to them that this kid's mimicking a guy getting drowned. It was just corny. Another weird one was Eric gets captured, and he's trying to get Gregory to basically monologue, and he sees him trying to make a monologue, and he's like, you can't get me like that. And then he monologues about his brother again anyways. Minor annoying thing I started noticing about midway through, they do way too many establishing shots of these different buildings, like Jessica's place or Jerry's place, or whatever. They're always this camera shot looking up, and I don't know why they have to do it every single time. It just kind of gets repetitive. There's an awful lot of people doing one thing, and it just ends up screwing somebody else somehow. Like Malcolm quits, and turns out the undoctored security footage she gives to Jerry, somehow she's the only person in the world that notices a reflection where you could see that it was Trish. Or Trish decides for whatever reason that her superhero alter ego needs to be photographed, and somehow it makes the cops unable to get the body from down south with the evidence that Gregory probably murdered them. And just weird stuff like that. Like someone does a little stupid thing and somehow it screws everybody else over. Sometimes it didn't even make sense the way it went down. There were some pretty cool moments with Jess setting up good, cool traps and outsmarting people. I really liked the one where they took the severed limb and put it in the bag and tried to make Gregory think that maybe they found where his body parts are at. Pretty shocking to see Mrs. Walker get killed. It's crazy, like how much thought she put in her own funeral and all the will and all that stuff. But they said that led to some pretty great emotional moments from Jessica and Trish. And I really didn't get much of anything that interesting from Jessica versus Trish. I thought we'd have at least one kind of cool fight scene, and the most we got out of it was her cutting the lights off and kicking Jess a couple times, and then she gets thrown around and tries to stab her for some reason, and that's about it. So it was a little bit anticlimactic. And then the ending was kind of weird overall, where Jessica basically said, "Screw it, I'm leaving," and she's like, gives Malcolm the keys as the alias. She sets it up where it looks like the new team protecting the city are going to be the detective and Eric. And then the last minute, for some reason, we get to kind of unnecessary Kilgrave voiceover, and she decides to turn around and go back. So it's like she kind of set up some cool scenarios, and then she just goes right back to it, I'm assuming. And I thought they would have did this a little bit. Wasn't too bad, but I thought they would have a little bit stronger, considering this is the final episode of the show, and they knew pretty well ahead of time it was going to be the final episode. But it was also the final episode of all the Netflix shows, so I wish they could have worked something else in there to kind of really bring it all to an end. But it wasn't that big of a deal. That's really all I got. Kind of went on for a while there. So thanks for watching.